Oh, welcome back. Happy Friday. Welcome into another edition of Prime Sports World. And if you're anything like me and Mr. TJ Hopkins, we just got done watching Denver dominate game number 4 of the NBA Finals. But we'll get into that more on Sunday or Monday, whatever the show ends up working out. On today's show, though, we're going to talk about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers as they move on from Thomas Edward, whatever, Brady the third. We'll talk about it here today, see what their season's going to look like. I'm David Huppman right there with TJ Hopkins. Please like, share, and subscribe to the podcast. Also, if you do happen to miss us live, we also have a plethora of streaming platforms. Welcome to the show, TJ. Happy Friday, my friend. Happy Friday, man. I love a good Friday.
Well, I would too if I wasn't at work right now, but it is what it is.
Especially today for me is payday Friday, so I'm double excited about that. I just had to pay off. I just had the brakes redone on my car, so I had to basically immediately pay off my brakes, so I don't even get to enjoy my paycheck at all.
That's adulthood. I don't get paid.
No.
I don't get paid for another couple of days, but it's what
it is. What it is. So let's talk about Tampa Bay. Let's just move right into their storylines. Let's talk about the big one. Year one, post Tom Brady expectations. Tom Brady not walking through that door. Assumingly, he's not going to save whatever the season's going to be. What are we expecting out of them year one post Tom Brady?
Well, if that video is anything to judge what the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to be, and I'm talking about the one where Kyle Trask literally overthrew a receiver 2 feet in front of him. I'm exaggerating, but it was still pretty bad.
It was rough. It was bad.
It tells me that they are in the Caleb Williams, Drake May sweepstakes. I know Izzy named another quarterback in the group chat, but those are the top two. Those are the top 2 quarterbacks in this year's class. I saw a mock draft that potentially had the Arizona Cardinals with not just the first overall pick, but the second overall pick. The first 2, they would have the first 2 overall picks, and I don't think that's ever been done in NFL history. If I'm the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I am trying everything in my power to prevent that, because you're not only going to get a potential generational quarterback in Caleb Williams or Drake May, they're going to have a shot at a generational wide receiver too in Marvin Harrison Jr.
Yep.
And if I'm the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I am trying everything in my power to prevent that, whether it's get the first overall pick, whether it's to get the second and third. I'm trying to do something to prevent that combination from going to Phoenix, Arizona. And I'm not going to sit here and act like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers don't have the draft capital, the trade assets to acquire that kind of draft capital. I don't see Mike Evans and Chris Godwin finishing their seasons as Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
I especially don't see Mike Evans, who's getting banged up a little bit. I know Vita Vea's got some value there at the Shaquille Barrett to a contender. Antoine Winfield, Carlos and Davis the third. I agree with you. I think this is a scenario where even if they end up with, let's say they don't end up with the first overall pick, and then so it's somewhere in the top 5. Arizona may be looking to move off of Kyler Murray, and they could trade that whatever their pick ends up being in the first round for Kyler Murray, if that is a thing that Arizona is considering. Depending on how their season goes, which we all expect it to go terrible. But yeah, I expect Tampa Bay to be one of the worst teams in the NFL. I think signing Baker Mayfield's nice and all, but he's not going to win you a lot of games. The rest of this team isn't all that good. The only reason they were able to win any games last season, and remind you, they only won 8. They were under 500 and made the playoffs, and they got beat in the first round by 40 points. It may not have been 40, but sure shit felt like it.
Hey, and they limped, they limped their way to 8 games. It was
tough to watch on a regular basis. And Tom Brady ain't walking through that door. Baker Mayfield is not saving this team. This offensive line is not good at all. Outside of Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, I don't love any of their receiving options. I know I do it like Russell Gage on occasion. Their running back room without Leonard Fournette is going to be a work in progress. And I think this defense is taking a major step back. Devin White doesn't seem like he wants to be there. I'm not sure why they re-signed Levante David. Shaquille Barrett hasn't been healthy in 2 seasons. So it's going to be very interesting to see how Tampa Bay tries to rebuild this team. And yes, they will be one of the worst teams in the NFL. That's my for sure expectation. Let's talk about the defense on the other side of the football as we talked about the offense a little bit here. But what are you expecting out of the defense? I mean, this defense kind of carried this Tampa Bay Buccaneers team last year with an offense that was inept at best. This defense carried them through majority of that season. And now a lot of those guys are unhappy and they want to they don't want to be part of a rebuild. Devin White doesn't want to be part of a rebuild. Levante David, they didn't sign up for this.
And they're a bit older. And we as Bears fans, we are all too adequate of knowing about a defense carrying a subpar offense, right? Like we know that all too well. We know that all too well as Bears fans. And it goes about how you expect it to go. Right? Every now and again the defense is lights out. They shut somebody down good enough for the offense to look competent enough. But eventually you have a few game stretches where the defense doesn't. They get tired. Like they hold up long enough. And then if an offense gets enough cracks at the defense in the same game, boom, the dam breaks and the flood commences. And we as Bears fans know about that all too well too. Right, I legit remember it was the last remnants of the Urlacher Briggs defense. Julius Peppers. It was the last year that defense as we knew it, Peanut Tillman them, and it's a rookie Russell Wilson, right? By a miracle, we get the game to OT. Remember, Jay Cutler completes a 60-yard bomb to Brandon Marshall.
Yep.
Sets Robbie Gould up for the game time field goal to go to OT. And this is how I knew that defense was old and cooked. The whole overtime drive, all Russell Wilson did was roll out left, complete a pass, roll out right, complete a pass, roll out. And this was before the overtime rule changed, and they just walked us down the field, got touchdown, left. This defense is basically going through that.
Yeah,
when they're not.
This is a dominant defense that's basically carried them to the Super Bowl. This is the reason that Patrick Mahomes doesn't have 3 rings. The defense was that good in that Super Bowl. Their offense was okay in that Super Bowl. Their defense was really in this defense this season. Top 10 in yards allowed, despite being on the football field. I wish I had a stat on me where I could just look at how many snaps they actually defended. I don't have that number in front of me, but I'm sure it was a ton because their offense was inept this past season.
And what I don't think helps is the Buccaneers of old, right? Like the Warren Sapps and like those guys coming out and calling those dudes out. Like you got to understand, this is a different NFL than what you played in.
Yeah, I mean, we're not practicing as much. There's no hitting and there's no contact during practices. Like it's much different now than it was ever whenever those older players used to talk about it. Like, oh, how it was back in my day. It ain't your day. This is a much different NFL.
It's like, so for like a Warren Sapp to call out Devin White, like, yo, you got to see, like, you should take that C off your, like the captaincy off your chest. And it's like, dude, shut up. Because
he's allowed to be unhappy. I mean, you sign a contract there and you think your team's going to be competitive for the foreseeable future. And then all of a sudden you're in a rebuild. Like, no, I would like to go somewhere where I can continue to be competitive and win. And if I'm going to be a free agent soon, wouldn't you rather be like, hey, I'm not going to resign here. Trade me somewhere and get some value for me.
I would, yeah. It's the old Bill Belichick adage. Like, I'd rather trade a player a year too early than a year too late.
Yeah. Yep.
And I think the issue, like even the Bucs team that won the Super Bowl, the one hang-up that they had was the secondary. The secondary was mediocre at best. It was Levante David, Devin White, and the guys up front that caused enough hell for them to be like, hey, this defense is solid. Like we saw what Tyreek Hill did to that offense in one half, that defense in one half.
Yeah.
Like that was one half. Like that was 200. Like he did 200 yards in one half. One dude did that. Like one. Yeah. Now I understand the Tampa Bay Buccaneers got they get back. in the Super Bowl.
It's 100% true. But yeah, I expect this defense to fall somewhere in the middle of the pack. I don't think they'll fall as long as they keep the pieces. If they don't trade Devin White and Levante David, Shaquille Barrett before the season starts, I think they'll be a middle of the pack defense. I think this they'll be somewhere in the middle.
Their saving grace is the other offenses in their division aren't going to world
exactly. Well, they have a very difficult schedule. We'll get to it here in a few minutes. Let's talk about Todd Bowles here for a moment. Hot seat, yes, no.
Oh, hell yeah. He was on hot. And I just want to give a quick shout out to my brother. He's in Bahrain right now. He just got his orders to come home. So we love to hear that.
Oh, dude, that's
yeah. So but Todd Bowles was low-key on the hot seat last year. Like if they could have
yeah, I think if what's his name hadn't stepped down when he stepped down, I think they would have found almost anybody else to coach this team because Todd Bowles just didn't seem like he didn't have this team. Like he didn't have, and especially this team doesn't expect to be good. So you're not going to fire the coach and hire somebody new, and you're not going to be good anyway. You're not going to pay two coaches to coach a bad football team. Like we'll just let Todd Bowles do Todd Bowles things, and then he'll probably be fired after this season.
It's unfortunate. It's unfair. It's all those words that it's all those words that you want to add to it because you again, he doesn't get credit for he'll never get the credit he probably adequately deserved. And if I'm Todd Bowles, sometimes you got to understand at some point you got to understand that some guys are meant to be head coaches, others are meant to be no more than coordinators. This is your second crack at a head coaching job. Pace giving you the flux.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
This is your second crack at a head coaching job, and I understand this was a better opportunity than the one you had with the Jets because it's the Jets and they're dysfunctional. But at some point in time, you got to understand. I'm maybe just meant to be a coordinator, and that's okay. That's okay. Some guys need to understand. I'm not meant to be a head coach. I would love to try it to see if I can do it. I froze.
I think it's my internet's having a moment. Am I back now? I back up. I have a bit of a moment. TJ, can you hear me?
I would love to see if I can do it. You never know. It's that you never know unless you try kind of thing. And yeah, Todd Bowles is 100% on the hot seat. 100%. There we go. I got you.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on that. Yeah, I think Todd Bowles for sure on the hot seat. Draft. So this is their 2023 draft. Number 19 is just all I can see. So it's tackle. Love that pick. They took offensive tackle out of North Dakota State. They took an edge out of Louisville. Took a linebacker out of Pitt. They took a tight end out of Purdue. They took a defensive back out of Kansas State. Took a wide receiver out of Nebraska. Took an edge out of Eastern Michigan. Mac represent, baby. What do you think about their draft? I love the Khalil Kancey pick. I think he's going to be mini Aaron Donald is because he's going to put that kind of pressure on, but he kind of has those intangibles. I think he's going to be a good football player for them right off the bat.
Yeah, I think if they move off of Vita Vea, Kancey just goes right into that spot, and he should definitely be a day one guy. He should come in immediately and start.
Yeah, he had crazy intangibles. I mean, his numbers at the combine were absurd. His 40 time, 4.67 at the 40-yard dash, fastest by defensive lineman at the NFL since 2006.
Right,
the guy he beat. And 33.5 vert.
Now, what we can't do is that right there. We can't just because he's drawn comparisons to Aaron Donald.
Yeah,
doesn't mean we can expect him to be Aaron Donald.
100%. That's like the offensive tackle out of North Dakota State. Donovan Smith left. He wasn't good at all last season. He started every game for the North Dakota State. What are they, Coyotes or something? 3 years. Anyways, 39 consecutive games in the final 3 years at the Bisons. Yeah, Bisons, sorry.
Yeah.
39 at right tackle, 37 at left tackle. So he's a swing, gives you some value there. I don't know how much he'll actually play his rookie season, but it's good to have a depth at the tackle and offensive tackle position. And then they got Yaya Diaby, defensive out of Louisville. I will not lie to you. I did not know a lot about him, but with Shaquille Barrett coming off a torn Achilles tendon and Joe Tryon being just kind of meh over his first 2 seasons, they need help at the edge rush position. Got to roll the dice here. 4.51 in the 40.
Yeah, I think that's a disappointment. They were kind of hoping Joe Tryon took a leap forward, and he hasn't yet. But obviously, like that's the thing. Like some guys, hit the ground running faster than others. The Cody Mock pick, obviously, he went viral. With the grill, like he had the hockey player grill, like he had like a couple.
Yeah.
Former what was he, a tight end when he went? Yeah, I think he was a tight end when he first got to school, and then he just bulked up and became an offensive lineman. No reason why he shouldn't play. Like I don't know if he's going to be a tackle in today's NFL. He might be better off inside.
Right now on ESPN, they got him listed as their starting right guard. So
okay, yeah. So that's probably more suitable. I am with you. No disrespect to Yaya Diaby, but I didn't watch a lot of Louisville football. I don't know if anybody outside of Louisville has watched a lot of Louisville football since Lamar Jackson's left.
4.51 in the 40-yard dash is 6'3", 263 pounds.
That's
pretty solid.
Fair. That is not okay.
Yeah. Then they took a linebacker out of Pitt. He had 7 sacks last season in the ACC. Could be a potential Devin White, Levante David replacement. Is David only under contract for 1 more season? The tight end, they lose Cameron Brate, they lose Kyle Rudolph. So Cade Otten and Cole Keefe are the only ones on the roster. That's just the depth of the draft. I think it's fine.
So, and Payne Durham. All right, again, Illinois, Big Ten country. So a lot of Payne Durham over the course of his career at Purdue. Solid tight end. Like he's good at both. He can catch, he can block. He's pretty much what you need in today's NFL. He's not afraid to get his nose dirty. I just wish he would have had better quarterback play in college versus.
Well, he still had 21 career receiving touchdowns, second most in Boilermaker history at any position.
Like that says a lot about the quarterback play, and like outside of Drew Brees, like they just haven't had good quarterback play out of Purdue.
And the quarterback in the 6th round, he ran a 4.44 in the 40-yard dash, 5'11", 185 pounds. Sean Burford and Button, so you need some depth there. He only allowed a 52% completion percentage and 5 touchdowns as the primary defender. The wide receiver, Trey Palmer, 4.33 in the 40-yard dash was insane. Averaged 38.7 yards per reception while at Nebraska. And then the outside linebacker from Eastern Michigan, 18.5 tackles for a loss in 2022, 9th most at FBS.
And again, Trey Palmer, another Big Ten product, Nebraska, solid player. His team just sucked. Like I'm so serious. Like I legit watched Illinois, Nebraska this past season, and if that's your kind of game where it's like offenses kind of struggle and it's like a defensive slobber knocker, then yeah, that's your favorite kind of game. But at no point in time did it feel like Nebraska was gonna win that game. Like even though Nebraska had a lead for like a hot second, and it was just like, all right, enough. If Illinois if Chase Brown gets that run game going, which they did, yes, it's going to be cursed because Devin Witherspoon and the Illinois defense is like, all right, we're finna lock this ish up and it's over with.
As a whole, I think I'm going to give this draft probably about a B. I love the picks they made in the early rounds. Take a flyer on some of the guys. They didn't have a lot of picks. I think they did an okay job. Yeah,
and we talk about that all the time too. Like when you have a limited amount of picks like that, so like when you have just 1 first, 1 second, 1/3, 2 fifths, 2 and 3/6, you can't make moves to get more picks. You got to make your picks count
Yep.
Like you can't miss.
I don't necessarily love the Yaya Diaby pick, but I mean they must know something that we don't, or they wouldn't have taken him. I think there were probably better players on the board at that point. I can't name anyone right now, but it just seems like that was a reach on
Third
him.
round. What 82nd pick? What's that, like middle of the third round?
Yeah. Let's just move on from there. Let's talk about their free agency. So notable roster shakeup. Obviously, they bring in Baker Mayfield, Chase Edmonds, Matt Feiler, right guard, left guard, Greg Gaines, defensive tackle. The notable departures, big time names here: Tom Brady, Lombardi Lenny, Donovan Smith, and then Akeem Hicks. What do we think about this roster shakeup? Obviously, Tom Brady retired. I don't think even if he hadn't retired, I don't think he was going to come back and play for this Tampa Bay Buccaneers team. You bring in Baker Mayfield, you never really know what you're going to get out of Baker Mayfield from game to game, possession to possession, drive to drive. But I think,
that right there, that's what it is. It's not game to game. It's drive to drive.
yeah. But I think as a whole, I think if you're trying to build, Chase Edmonds is a solid running back. He kind of fell out of favor there in Miami, and then he got traded to Denver. He never really had a niche there either. But he's a guy who's a good pass catching running back. He can really make things happen. He needs to be, check down guy. I mean, he's a good compliment to the Ricardo Smith, I think is the guy's name. Ricardo White is the guy who's the main running back on their roster. And then the rest of these guys are just to fill out the rest of their roster. Yeah, when you have a roster when you don't expect to be all that good, like this is, and you have people on the roster that are expensive. Like this roster is expensive, even with a team that's not expected not to be good, but this is an expensive team. Like they have limited cap space as it was.
All right, so about Baker Mayfield, so I forgot what publication it was. If I find it, I'll send it to you guys. They released their top 10 quarterbacks of the 2000s. Baker Mayfield was number 1 on that list.
What? 2000s?
Yeah, like and like seriously think about the quarterbacks we've seen in college football.
Oh, college football.
Over the past like 20 some odd years. So like you got him, okay, solid. He was solid. Like what he go as a starter? Like 40 something.
I mean, Deshaun Watson. I mean, he won a natty. I mean, Jalen Hurts. I mean, Tua Tagovailoa.
Like not even just those guys, right?
Trevor Lawrence, Tim Tebow.
There you go, right there. You got
Sam Bradford.
You got Cam Newton, Matt Leinart, and like
Jameis Winston.
You got like, so I just want to know, like, Baker Mayfield, like, why? Because he won the Heisman and he won a bunch of games at Oklahoma.
I mean, so did Tim Tebow, Jameis Winston. I mean, Sam Bradford. Actually, I don't know if Sam Bradford did win a Heisman, but
I just want to know what went into that ranking to make Baker Mayfield ahead of a college Auburn Cam Newton, ahead of a Tim Tebow, ahead of like guys like that. But that's neither here nor there. Hey, Baker Mayfield, if you can't beat out Kyle Trask, and David, can you flash the comment that Izzy said? Because I know he's watching. I know you're watching, Izzy. I just need to see.
I flashed it already once.
No, I just want to see that. Like Baker Mayfield can't hit. All that. If Baker Mayfield can't beat out Kyle Trask for the starting job,
it might be seriously be curtains for Baker Mayfield's career. This is his last chance. Like if he's not semi-productive,
you might as well go ahead, call up Fox, call up CBS, call up ESPN. Hey, what I got to do to be a college analyst, commentator, whatever. Like that's it, right? Like if you can't beat out not only that, if you get at any point in time, if you get benched for Kyle Trask, you might as well hand in your walking papers, right? Clean out your locker right then and there.
But yeah, I think this free agent class hangs a lot on Baker Mayfield. If he's productive for Tampa Bay, it's a solid free agent class. This is just what it is. This is what their team is.
If I'm Todd Bowles and if I'm Byron Leftwich and my future depending on Baker Mayfield performing well, I'm not feeling comfortable. I'm having a lot of sleepless nights. Them dudes probably up right now.
100%. They're probably watching this show right now. Not really. Probably not. But let's just swing into from the free agency. Let's talk about their schedule. Let's get into their record prediction. Let's start with the first game. They go to Minnesota, to Bank of America Park, I think is what it's called. and they take on Minnesota Vikings team coming off a disappointing playoff loss. How do you got this game shaken out?
Bro, they could legit lose their first 4 games.
I think they will lose their first 4
I
games.
think they will lose their first.
I think they go to Minnesota and they lose. Like Chicago, they
Check
go to Chicago. Chicago
They
comes
might,
there to. They lose that game. They lose by a lot to Philadelphia, and I think
they
they go to
might
the
lose
Bayou and they lose.
5 games. They might lose their first 6 out of 7 games, bro.
I'm just looking at their schedule right now. Let's just of the first 8 games, I only have them winning 1 of those. I think they beat the Houston Texans, even in Houston. I think they lose all of the rest of them. They for sure lose at Buffalo. I think they get beat by Detroit. I think Atlanta and them are close, but I think Atlanta edges them out there. And then I think they lose all of their first 4 games before the bye. And they have unfortunate, but they have their bye stupid early for a team that's older, like an older football team, an aging football team. They have a really early bye. That's not a good recipe there. I have them, 1-7 through 8 games there for Tampa Bay.
I don't 2-6 at the most. I think that Atlanta and Houston and they could be anywhere from 2-6 to 0-8. Like I'm so serious.
I don't disagree. I don't necessarily disagree with that, but I think they'll beat Houston. And then, as I mentioned earlier in the show, this is a difficult schedule because they're playing a first place schedule. They play the first place team in all of the divisions in the AFC and in the NFC. So then they go to they play Tennessee because they're playing in the AFC South. Tennessee comes there. I think they actually win that game. I think they beat Tennessee in Raymond James Stadium. I think they beat Tennessee. I have no idea what Tennessee's going to look like this season. Do you?
I don't either. Man. Like, it really depends on they got quarterback questions and they got 3 of them because Ryan Tannehill is still listed on the team. Yeah. Malik Willis is there, and they drafted Will Levis, right?
100%. Yep. In the 3rd round, it's where they draft all their quarterbacks, apparently. Tennessee, we'll get to them in a future episode, but they have a lot of decisions to make. But I still think Tampa Bay is good enough to win this game. I think they get beat down in San Francisco in Levi Stadium. That game will not be close at all.
Hey, whoever has that game, whichever network has that game, I strongly consider having a backup plan in case this gets.
I mean, last year they had Tom Brady and they still lost by 30 points.
Legit, that was the game where it's like, remember that, like, they had a drive going. They get to the red zone and then they just couldn't cash in. Like, Tom Brady threw a ball at like Mike Evans' feet and he just couldn't catch it. They went for it on 4th down a bunch.
Yeah,
didn't it?
But Brock Purdy put up like 40 points on them, and that was all they wrote. I think they go to Indianapolis. I think they could beat Indianapolis in Indianapolis. So I got them at 3-10 or 3-9 or 3-8 going into the second the stretch of the season. I think they can beat Indianapolis in Indianapolis.
I agree. By this point, what is it? By this point, either Anthony Richardson is either playing and starting or he's still holding the clipboard. You already know how I feel about that. If you're going to play the kid. Don't bring him in for a couple drives and have a special bunch of formations for him and all that other. Don't do that. The Eagles did that with Jalen Hurts, pissed me off. The Bears did it with Justin Fields his rookie year, pissed me off. Don't do that. Either play the kid or don't. I agree with you on that.
From there, they go back-to-back games in the division, one at home, one on the road. Carolina comes to town, and then they go to Atlanta. I think that they split that. So I have them losing to Atlanta, and I have them beating Carolina. I have them at 4-10 going down the stretch here. And then looking at the rest of their schedule, I don't think they win another one. I think they go to Green Bay and lose. I think Jacksonville comes to town. I think they lose. I think New Orleans beats them. I think Carolina beats them. So I have them finishing the season at 4-13.
Agree. And if I'm Carolina, I'm trying to win as many games as possible because you don't own your draft pick. So you want the Bears to have the worst possible pick in that situation.
I agree, but I don't think Carolina's gonna be good enough to win as many games as they want. I think when I did the episode the other day, I think they had them winning 5 games, which I think this is what 4 to 5 games as the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think that's what they're gonna win too. This is gonna be a team that's not all that good this season. But what's crazy is that even if they win 5 games, they're not that far out of it because of how poor I think the South is going to be this season.
Right. If they have a shot at winning the division, they know the whole league, that whole conference needs to be demoted. Like
hey, demoted to the XFL. We'll have the what is it, the North, that we had all those good teams in the North.
I could wholeheartedly seeing, like, if he doesn't get fired, I could legit just see Todd Bowles like resigning halfway through the season and just
no way.
like,
nobody's just gonna like leave the money there. He's gonna coach until he gets fired. Let's be real.
No, because at some point in time, it's like, hey man, what's the point? Like, what's the point?
I don't necessarily disagree with you, but if he were to resign, he would just leave all that money on the table. If they fire him, he still gets all his money.
Like, think about it. Like, everybody looks good in practice, right? Everybody looks good in practice. All right, like Baker Mayfield could look like Heisman Baker, right? He can look like Heisman Baker Mayfield in practice, but we're talking
about practice.
We're talking about practice, but to your point, with Baker Mayfield, it's drive to drive. You can't constantly rely on Baker Mayfield to have moments like he did against the Raiders this past season, where it's like you're terrible for
the whole game. Plus, like, and then you have 2 drives in the fourth quarter, and you're just like, you win the game, and then all of the analysts want to gush over you, like, oh, he's only been here 2 days, and he was able to orchestrate this comeback. Like, shut up.
Like, you can't constantly rely on that, bro. And the fact that Kyle Trask has been there longer than him, and they still don't feel comfortable enough to go to him and be like, hey, you've been here, you know Byron's system, we're gonna roll with you.
Byron Leftwich isn't even there anymore.
And that's what
I'm not sure who their OC is, but yeah, remember they fired Byron Leftwich.
They did. I don't remember that. I gotta look that up. They did. That's sad. That's crazy.
Yeah, Byron Leftwich ain't there no more. Byron Leftwich is currently a American football coach and former quarterback. Yeah, he does not have a coaching job right now after he got fired from Tampa Bay. I don't know who their OC is.
I don't. Hey, it's tough. Hey, tough uphill sledding. That's tough.
Dave Canellis is their offensive coordinator, whoever that is. He was the quarterback coach for the Seattle Seahawks. He was there for Geno Smith and his rise from whatever he came out of.
See, that's the thing. He got a job because he helped resurrect Geno Smith for once.
He did. Man, hey, Adam Gase has been getting paid on that one season from Jay Cutler, so let's not hate on it. But yeah, this has been our Tampa Bay Buccaneers season preview. Sorry, Tampa Bay Buccaneers fan, your team's gonna stink. So that's unfortunate. But thank you very much for checking us out here at Prime Sports World. I'm David On Point. Right there is Mr. TJ Hopkins. And TJ, what we do here at the Prime, my friend?
We bring the heat, but Adam Gase ain't got a job right now. You can let that go.
I will never let that go. I'm gonna live with that hate forever. You guys all have a good night. Have a good weekend. Stay safe out there. Peace out, TJ.
See you, man.